everybody. Let me start this video with a good news. So, the ethics proposal that I wrote and submitted to the Swiss Ethics Commission has been accepted now, and now we can conduct our clinical trials on the chronic pain patients and also on the healthy participants to develop better treatment options for chronic pain patients and also to understand what goes on in their brain during such painful conditions. So, I would say it's a great achievement as a PhD student. Um, so I'm not trying to bolster about myself here, but I thought that, um, maybe my insights might be helpful for somebody who's currently writing their ethics proposal or for the PhD students just to make them aware about the fact that this could be an additional task that you have to do in your PhD. So often this happens that your supervisor is the one who's writing these ethics proposal. So for the first part of our project, the ethics proposal was already ready, but for my studies, it was not. So that's when I had to, understand that I have to do this task and have to get it approved from the Swiss Ethics Commission. Although my supervisor helped me a lot, and obviously the German translations and all that part was done by her and another master student. So that was a different part of the story. However, I think that it's important for us to be aware that such a task does exist. And it's not only that a supervisor will write it, but as a PhD student, also, you might have the opportunity, I would say, to write an ethics proposal. So, what I realized during my writing of this ethics proposal is that it is a time consuming process and it demands a lot of motivation. So, I started writing this ethics proposal in October and I was almost done writing it by, I would say, November end or something. And then we had these Christmas holidays, and post that, I had like submitted it to my supervisor several times for corrections, and then it was finally ready by January. So we had submitted it to the ethics commission, and then it underwent 2 to 3 revisions, and now finally it got accepted. So you see that the process here is very long. Now you must be wondering that why is it such a big deal? So ethics proposal writing not only happens for clinical studies, but it also happens for preclinical studies. However, the fact to remember here is that as the complexity of the study model increases, so from rodents to non human primates to human beings, it gets harder and harder. Obviously we'll think twice before giving certain drug to a human being, right? And while writing this ethics, I realized that how important it is for me to understand my project in a very well versed manner, so that I'm not doing something that is affecting my participants in a negative manner, and also for the fact that I should be ready that I am responsible for whatever is happening in my study. So ultimately, this whole process taught me to have a very positive attitude about this. I know it is very, very tiring, especially when you also have to deal with another language, because here in Zurich, we officially use German, the High German written form. And it was a bit hard for me because I know only a little bit of that language yet. And often, when you write such things in scientific manner, it gets a bit hard. Anyways, the important point to remember here is that if you're a student who's interested in clinical studies, then you have to mentally prepare yourself that you might have to write an ethics, and if your ethics is already ready, then you will be saving some time. And so I will quickly discuss with you about what went on in my process of writing this ethics. So I also did a module called Good Clinical Practices. It's a module which teaches you about the fact that why do you need ethics proposal submissions, what is the ethics committee is all about, and what are the do's and don'ts of clinical trials, how should you store data, and why do you need studies to be scientifically as well as ethically sound. So the the ethics committee want you to submit an ethics proposal which shows that your study is scientifically sound as well as it is ethical, because in the past it has been shown through some unfortunate events that certain scientists just wanted to, prove their hypothesis, or wanted to see certain results, or had something that they wanted to prove to the people. They had conducted some unethical experiments, and who should be deciding if it is ethical or not is that is why we have these ethics committee who tell us if our studies are ethically sound or not. So when I was writing my proposals, I came across this book by Dr. Siddharth Mukherjee, and in this book, there's a chapter on eugenics. If you're interested more to understand what were some unethical experiments that were conducted, and also what was the past, in the past, what sort of experiments were being conducted, which were considered unethical, you can definitely check this eugenics chapter in this book. Also, if you're very, very much interested, you can do these GCP courses. So at the end, I just want to say few insights of mine. So while writing ethics, I realized that I have like a lot of time for myself to do a lot of literature review, and this will really help you to write your thesis, especially the part where you will be describing about the seminal papers that are important for your study and that form the basis of your hypothesis. Then it also gives you a lot of time to sit and think about different factors. Like in my case, I can give you one example. So let's say I'm telling the ethics committee that I need 50 participants, or the 50 chronic pain patients for one of my study. In that case, they would ask me how did I calculate the sample size, and I would have to know what are the effect sizes that I'm considering, what are the other parameters that I'm considering, what is the attrition rate. So this whole thing, gives you a lot of time to look at the study from different angles and to decide as to what are the specific things that you would want to incorporate, like the list of questionnaires that you want to include in your study, the specific time points that you will use to conduct your behavioral experiments, how long will you conduct your fMRI sessions, and all these things. So, and the third thing which I would want to highlight here is that it is a good way to practice scientific writing, because when you write an ethics proposal, it is quite different than writing a research proposal, because in research proposal you have to be very, very specific about the details. However, when you write an ethics proposal, you have to also write somehow on the surface that you want to deliver your idea to the ethics committee, but at the same time not get in trouble. So I would say it was a good activity or a task for me, and there was a lot of learning. If you have more questions on this, definitely you can ask me in the comment section, and I'll try to help you. And I guess that's quite about it for today's video. And there are so many I would say actually on YouTube, if you are still interested, check this experiment called Little Albert. So this was one of the unethical experiment that was conducted because it had detrimental effects on Albert's life. So it is important to keep in mind as scientists that whatever we are doing should not have negative effects on the participants, and that should be the main goal, because the research that we are going to do should be benefiting the society, and rather it should not be the other way around. So that is the importance of writing ethics proposal, and it exists for a reason, because somehow we don't know our limitations and we need somebody to control us, to check us, which is in a way not right, but somehow we need to control this, and it's important to have somebody or certain number of people who can judge the scientific soundness and also ethical value of the study. So that's quite about it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in. And just to mention here that Meet the PhDs series trailer 1 is out already. So you're more than welcome to watch it, and the episode will be aired very soon. So I'll see you there, and thanks for joining. Bye.